Good evening. I'm Tony Goldwyn. I'm a proud member of the Innocence Project's Board of Directors, and I am so excited to welcome you to the Innocence Project's Evening of Thanks, a Call to Justice. Our event tonight certainly has a different format from other years, but our purpose remains the same. Tonight, we will share with you the compelling stories behind the work of the Innocence Project, the lives it has changed, the public policy challenges we're confronting, and why we are so incredibly grateful to you for making our crucial work possible. My relationship with the Innocence Project evolved through my own work as an actor and a director and a producer. But the truth is that every case of wrongful conviction could be a movie. Every case is heart-wrenching and deeply troubling. Each is a tale of lives upended, families traumatized, of human potential denied and sometimes extinguished. But because of the tireless work and passionate commitment of the Innocence Project's staff and volunteers, and because of your support, these cases are being heard. The wrongfully convicted are receiving justice, and the system itself finally is being scrutinized and fixed. These past 6 months have posed challenges for all of us. Compounding the pandemic, which has been especially catastrophic for incarcerated individuals, have been the tragic cases of racial injustice that continue to make headlines and to drive our national debate. As difficult and traumatic as this year has been, it has also revealed an overwhelming level of support for the work that the Innocence Project is doing. Since June, we have received first-time donations from literally tens of thousands of you from all over the country. This is new support from individuals as well as corporations and their employees. I see this shift as a sea change in our society, reflecting a bold recognition of the fundamental flaws in our criminal justice system and a resounding vote of confidence in how the Innocence Project is addressing those flaws. So wherever you are, whoever you are, whether you gave for the first time or you've given to us over the years, this evening is an expression of profound gratitude to you. It is also an opportunity to tell you about our work and to introduce you to the Innocence Project's new executive director, Christina Swarns, who is going to share a candid conversation with our extraordinary co-founders, Peter Neufeld and Barry Scheck. We will learn about the work that the Innocence Project is doing on critical policy issues. And of course, just like every year, we're going to hear from our exonerees, people who have spent years, sometimes decades in prison for crimes they did not commit. Tonight, they will share their stories with you, reminding all of us not only what we support, but who we're supporting. So this evening is about both people and policy. I invite you to continue doing your part by sharing the work of the Innocence Project with others who believe in fairness and justice. Thank you for answering our call to justice. Your support is behind everything we do. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Good evening. It's great to be a part of tonight's event, an evening of thanks, a call to justice. I'm honored to be here tonight with Chris Tapp, who served 2 decades in prison for a crime he didn't commit. My name is Vanessa Potkin, and I lead the exoneration work at the Innocence Project. For people who haven't heard about Chris's case, in June of 1996, a young woman, Angie Dodge, was brutally sexually assaulted and murdered in her home. Police began to suspect that somebody who was an acquaintance of Chris might have been involved in the case. Over a period of 3 weeks, Chris was interrogated close to 60 hours. Police coerced 5 different statements. At the time, there was DNA evidence, and the DNA was compared to Chris, and he was conclusively excluded. But the confession evidence trumped the DNA. Chris, the interrogation in your case is unimaginable. They threatened you with death, that you were going to go to the electric chair. They falsely promised you leniency if you just tell us what we want to hear. They lied to you and told you that you failed polygraphs and fed you information that was then incorporated into the statements that you parroted back to them. You were just a teenager. What is it like to be in that room, to have experienced what you did?
Truly terrifying. There's no other way to explain it, but truly terrifying that you're locked in a room that's 6x6, and then you have an officer or two at a time running questions by you or telling you this is how things were, and then to start being threatened after so many hours of being interrogated and so many hours of polygraphs. You know truthfully in your heart that you're completely innocent, but a lie detector is telling that you're being untruthful about a murder and a rape that you know you had no part of, but you just don't understand. You just want to do whatever it is to go away, to get yourself out of that little interrogation room, to get yourself away from these people that are supposed to be protecting you and they're not. I don't wish the nightmare on anybody. I don't wish anybody to have to go through what I've had to go through. And I'm sorry for all the other individuals that are still in prison or that are home today sitting next to their loved ones that had to go through the same thing. I'm sorry that you had to go through it, because it's just a terrifying experience. And I wouldn't want anybody to ever have to go through it.
And we know that this is happening throughout interrogation rooms today, throughout the country, and that inspires us to work along with you to put an end to these abusive, coercive tactics that lead people to falsely confess. You never stopped trying to fight your conviction. You were filing appeal after appeal. You had John Thomas, a public defender, fighting by your side. Steve Drizzen, a false confession expert, came on board. And then the Innocence Project. What did it mean to have this team fighting for you?
Having the team fighting for me was truly amazing. You don't realize how much donations and people volunteering their time or effort go to actually helping somebody inside the prison system. Most people don't understand it, but I always say I'm grateful and I'm lucky to have these people behind me.
It was Carol Dodge, the mother of the victim, who had come to believe in your innocence and reached out to the Innocence Project, advocating for us to join the team of lawyers who were fighting for your exoneration.
When I first found out about Carol Dodge, it was through my local counsel. And then he told me, he goes, Chris, she believes in you. She spent hours upon hours watching all the interrogations and going over polygraphs and everything else. And she truly came on board to be my champion of justice. The most important person in the world, in my opinion, saw that I was innocent. And it truly meant that maybe, just maybe, there'd be a light at the end of the tunnel for me, that maybe I have a chance to finally come home.
What you experienced, nobody should have to ever go through. And it is an inspiration, what you made it through, who you are as a person and what you're giving. Can you talk a little bit about the experience of advocating for lawmakers to make reforms?
I know I'm not going to be the last wrongful conviction in the country, but I want to make sure that the next guy that comes home from all this has something there in place to right a wrong. Coming home with the idea that you'll be able to pay for your own housing, pay for schooling, medical, buy your own clothes. You don't know how important any of that is to somebody once they get home. How important it is for them to start feeling like they're part of something. You're thrown away for 20 years and you have nothing that's truly yours. Like you're not part of the world or you're not worth anything to anybody. It's truly amazing to have the Innocence Project to be there and to help you and to guide you and give you the stuff that you need to try to help you go on with your life. Because you don't want the wrongful conviction to define the person that you are. If my voice can be heard by one person and change what's happening in the world today for wrongful convictions, then it's all worth it to me for whatever I do. Going to the Senate and having a standing ovation, having every senator in my state stand up and applaud me was truly an amazing feeling. It made me feel like you're a part of something. And that's what we truly look for, and that's what we truly deserve.
Well, you are definitely part of the Innocence Project family, Chris. There will always be so much more work to be done, both to help people who are wrongfully convicted and also really change this system. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing tonight. We know it's never easy and these experiences are so painful. Your courage and your voice is truly making a difference. And we appreciate you and we appreciate all of our supporters tonight for helping us get this work done.
Good evening. My name is Peter Neufeld, and I, along with Barry Scheck, are the co-founders of the Innocence Project. And we are delighted to be here this evening to introduce all of you to our new executive director, Christina Swarns.
When the job search began for a new executive director at the Innocence Project, Peter and I told the board of directors and the people involved in the search that we wanted to find somebody that knew us, knew the organization, knew our mission, knew what we'd accomplished. We needed somebody that could be a great leader, and they found her. So, Christina, let me just ask you very simply, why the Innocence Project and why now?
The Innocence Project is the most trusted and influential criminal justice reform organization in the world. Its willingness to fearlessly speak hard truths about the functioning of the criminal legal system make it the exact organization to lead the nation forward at this critical moment in history. I have spent my entire career working in the field of criminal justice reform. Like you, Barry and Peter, I started my career at the Legal Aid Society as a public defender. And it was actually in the conference room of the Legal Aid Society that I watched you show the world for the first time the power and potential of DNA evidence. It was just 1 year later that I wound up working with you again on a case of a death sentenced person in Pennsylvania, Nicholas Yaris, who insisted that he was unequivocally innocent. The only way we could figure out whether Nick was innocent was to talk to the experts at the Innocence Project, and he became the first death sentenced prisoner in Pennsylvania to be exonerated by DNA evidence. There's no one more important in the conversation about the Innocence Project than the people at the center of our work. I had the pleasure last week of meeting with the Exoneree Council. The people the Innocence Project has represented that have also committed themselves to working with us and guiding our work forward. These are people who spent an enormous amount of time in prison for crimes they didn't commit. They came out of prison and they've committed to working with us to make sure that what happened to them doesn't happen to another person. They are a source of inspiration, and I am so honored that I get to do this work with them.
In the wake of George Floyd's murder, it does seem as though there are, frankly, opportunities in terms of changing the system with respect to racial justice and law enforcement accountability. Where do you see the Innocence Project's role in this? What do you think we have ahead of us?
Well, the Innocence Project is perfectly positioned to lead around these issues, just as it has historically. Race does play a role throughout history in the administration of justice. It requires us to take action to figure out how we remove race from the calculus, how we are able to make fair and accurate determinations in the system. And that's this moment. That's the moment that people across the country are calling out for. And because this organization is really presented this track record of exposing how race contributes to those wrongful outcomes, it's incumbent upon us to take that mantle and push it forward and find ways to correct these injustices in the system.
A lot of our supporters are much more familiar with our work exonerating people than they are with the reality that since the very, very beginning, we've been in policy reform and we've tried to improve the way the criminal legal systems work in the United States. Do you have a sense of how we can continue to expand on things, even, for instance, on police accountability?
There's very little accountability for police officers whose conduct leads to someone being wrongfully convicted. That's because the law is extremely protective of law enforcement to such a degree that it's almost impossible for there to be liability. So in light of all that we have seen with George Floyd, with Eric Garner, there's been a real call for a change of that law, which is absolutely necessary. The Innocence Project is working on a variety of initiatives to address this. Just this year in New York, the Innocence Project was one of the leaders of the campaign to repeal 50A, which was a law that for years shielded police misconduct and histories of complaints by police officers. And now, for the first time, we have the kind of transparency that's necessary to ensure that the people who are policing our communities in New York City are the people who should be policing our communities. And that work is being done by the Innocence Project all across the country. I also want to thank all of you, the people who have joined our effort to make sure that the criminal legal system functions as it should. So many of you saw what happened to George Floyd, to Ahmaud Arbery, to Breonna Taylor, and you were moved to act, and you trusted this organization because you know its history. You understand that we are willing to fearlessly address these issues and do what's necessary to make the system function properly. I want to thank you for your recognition that everyone is entitled to the presumption of innocence, that people of color should not be stripped of the presumption of innocence on the street, that all of us have to be treated fairly by the legal system. And I want to thank you for committing your time, committing your resources, committing your energy to working with us and trusting us to lead this fight forward. And I would appreciate it if you would consider texting innocence to 52886 to pledge your support.
Thank you so much, Christina, for agreeing to do this, to lead us. It's going to be a remarkable experience for everyone that works at the Innocence Project, for all the people in the Innocence Movement, 56 organizations. We couldn't be more inspired or thrilled that you're going to be leading us.
There is nobody better situated to help lead this movement for change in criminal legal systems. The Exonerees are excited. Our network is excited. The entire organization is thrilled. Our supporters are responding appropriately. And on behalf of all of them, welcome aboard.
Hi, I'm Molly Karen Rose, and just like so many of you, this pandemic has forced me to slow down, and I have seen tragedy after tragedy unfold on the news, and I felt like at this point, silence is betrayal. So I kept thinking, what more can I do? And that's why I'm here today with Innocence Project. Joining me now is a man I deeply admire, Hugh Burton. I marvel, Hugh, at your resiliency, and it's really an honor to be here with you, and I'm really looking forward to having this conversation. Hugh Burton spent 19 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. It was a coerced confession by the police for the most heinous and unimaginable crimes, the murder of his mother. Hugh was just 16 years old, went to school, he came home, found his mother had been stabbed in the neck twice and undressed from the waist down. He was brought in by police at about 5 p.m. and then by 3 a.m. the cameras were turned on. Hugh, talk to me about how you got to the point that you gave the police the confession that they forced you to use and that they fabricated and created.
When they came to my godmother's house, they told her they wanted to bring me down for a polygraph test and that I would be right back. Reluctantly, I went, just wanting to find out what happened to my mom. Maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours into this interview, it turned accusatory, and they said they knew it was me who committed this crime and I needed to tell them. Immediately, I'm crying, I'm asking for my father. They're telling me I would see my father after I told them what they needed to hear. They knew that prior to this, I had no involvement with law enforcement. All of this was brand new to me, coupled with the fact that I had just walked in and found my mom. I just left for school and left her sitting on the couch. Now I come back and find her in this condition. Finally, by 10 after 3, the cameras started rolling. They had actually broke down any kind of defense that I had for myself, and I gave them what they wanted because they made me feel as if this was the only thing that was going to help me and assist me in this situation.
It's unfathomable to me that you didn't harden your heart and just throw in the towel and just give up the fight. How did you keep hope alive and continue to fight for your innocence? My
father. I've never seen the strength of a person, of a human being as strong as my dad. Here is a man that had to deal with my defense, but at the same time had to process and deal with everything, all of his wife's affairs. And still, he came to every courtroom I was in, every visit room that I was in, however far upstate I was. And he fought to his last day. He lost his life savings fighting this case. It's like, if he can do it, if he can get through that, I'm going through rough things, but the things he was going through, my problems paled in comparison to what he was going through, and still he handled it in such a dignified manner. And that's what helped me really keep hope alive.
We share a common passion, and that is sports. Talk to us about the impact running had on your life?
When I first started getting into running, it was as a result of watching older prisoners run. Seeing them run, they seemed to be at peace when they ran. Whatever problems they had, it just seemed to be gone in the times that they were running. And I wanted that. I needed it, so I tried my hand at running. And as I got better, I found that running became somewhat of a release. Things that you may have on your mind, frustrations or whatever, I was able to run and let go of all of it. I would always say to myself that if I got out of here, I'm going to run a marathon. And finally, I got the opportunity. I ran the first one in 2016. By the time I got to about 18th mile, I was cramping severely. And I was like, okay, I think I may have bitten off a little bit more than I could chew, and I wanted to stop. I looked a few feet in front of me, and it was my attorney. And she's waving to me to just, come, I got you. And what was so interesting about that, when we met, I was in my 18th year of incarceration. So to see she's kind of pulling me along at the 18th mile, just like she was pulling me along during my 18th year, that kind of gave me the strength that I needed to finish the last few miles. That was great.
Hugh, obviously you had your father's strength at the forefront, but what did it also mean when you had the support of the Innocence Project?
What that did for me, that really restored my hope in justice. Sometimes you're like, I'm going to keep fighting because it's what I have to do. But you're seeing so many people around you not getting it, and you keep fighting. And to watch what the IP did with my case and with so many other cases, it really reinforced my idea that good can be done and justice is going to be restored.
Hugh, to see that you have hope gives myself hope, and I'm sure so many at home. And that's why I want to say thank you to everyone who was a part of this night, because many of them, like myself, were seeing the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and no justice being served and feeling so defeated and so angry. And organizations like the Innocence Project give you hope, give us hope that someday justice can be served and there is something that we can do, and we aren't sitting idly by. Hugh, thank you so much for telling your story, and I know it's painful and it's hard to relive. We're all standing here with you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
What does freedom mean to me?
It's kind of a loaded question.
Being able to be with my family.
To enjoy the smallest things that sometimes we take for granted.
The freedom of choice. To be able to choose what I want to do with my own life.
I always had a dream of becoming a fireman. Not only did I become a professional fireman, but I also became the chief of the department that I started out as a youth.
To be able to live a good life, give back in some way, form, or fashion.
The freedom to vote.
To actually be around people that actually care for you, that cares about you.
Every moment with them, it makes me feel free.
Every person that has helped the Innocence Project, I want to say thank you. You saved me. I did over 26 and a half years behind the prison walls, and you give me my freedom back.
Everyone and each one, it doesn't matter how much you give, what you give. You are the Innocence Project. Without you, none of us would be here today.
One of the questions that always has been posed to me is why is it that I'm not mad with being done 38 years? I'm not mad because I notice there's people that have big hearts. I believe in them, believing in us. Because I want to have a big heart too. Because I know for a fact there's more people that's in there that's innocent.
I did 20 years to the exact date. There were a lot of times that I felt like I was losing that hope.
The Innocence Project actually believed in me. They believed that I did not commit this crime.
I've made a commitment to myself that I would give back to those who are still in prison.
If I can, in any way, form, or fashion, help another person to not go through it.
There are so many people, men and women, that are still incarcerated for crimes they did not commit.
We're out here and we are fighting for you.
To anyone who's incarcerated and fighting for their freedom, do not give up. Keep on fighting. Keep on screaming for help. We are the Innocence Project. You are the Innocence Project. All those who give, we are a family. The Innocence Project is here to help you.
I would like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We are Phony Ppl from Brooklyn, New York. Innocence Project, this is just for you. We got Mr. Matthew on the drums. Yes, we do. Barry Bass on the bass. AJ Grant on the keys. Elijah Rock on guitar. And I'm LB3 on the mic. Let's do it. So I'm here to have fun just like you are. So make sure you're moving, make sure you're singing, make sure you're dancing. Hey. And make sure you're romancing. We ain't taking no chances. You got a man, but you're messing around. All, baby, just to get down. Don't know if you know just what you're starting, but I can see you like to play with fire, darling. Your man just hit the bar to grab a chalice for you too. He turned his back just for a second. Look at what you do, sending me the supersonic signal. Left finger, but I feel you. Independent woman, I won't tell you how to act. 'Cause you and I both know we could be gone for he is back. You got a man, but you messing around. Oh, risking it all, baby, just to get down. You're messing around, yeah. Risking it all, baby, just to get down. Looking over your shoulders 'cause you better. If he was standing next to you, you never. Oh, I'm not usually one to sympathize for other guys. 'Cause if she's even looking, he ain't doing something right. Step by step, she's dancing, getting closer. Get ready, set, go ahead on collision. Slides a cardboard coaster in my pocket, then proceeds to burning up the floor where he expected her to be. You got a man, but you're messing around. Oh, risking it all, baby, just to get down. Hey, you got a man, but you're messing around. Oh, risking it all, baby, just to get down. I'm only half as wrong as you. You know, I know you're so wrong for what we've been doing. This place seems to ruin this love day. Oh, you got a man, but you're messing around. Phony Ppl, baby. It's Brooklyn. You got a man, but you messing